folks, welcome in to another edition of the Hoops Betting Hour. I am the big man on campus. He's Donnie Rightside. We are powered by PicksWise and presented by FanDuel. It's Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021, reliving the wild weekend that was the first weekend of March Madness. Looking ahead as well, we got Sweet 16, Elite 8, all that stuff coming up. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty, Donnie. And I'll tell you what, it's been fun, but I got to come out right away with a question. And I'll first ask, how you doing? What's up this morning?
Good. Hey, one of those days where you can finally take that step back from that excitingness that happened over the weekend. Look forward to these Sweet 16 matchups. But I'm doing good, refreshed, ready. Spring is here, Jeff, as we know in our corridor of the country. Looks like we're getting into the 60s, mid-60s, high 60s. It's a good time of year. Baseball's on deck next week. A lot of good stuff going on. But this tournament just getting heated up, man.
Yeah, that's something to look forward to. Baseball. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
You know, it's coming up. It's so fast. It's going to be cold, though, I feel like, still in a lot of the country.
Always.
But, either way, yeah, spring is sprung, ready to go. And, yeah, yesterday it was what, like 62, 63 out? It was
nice.
Very nice. You go out, you don't have to wear a big coat anymore. It's very nice. But, Donnie, I got to ask you right out of the gate, and, you know, weirdly enough, it finally hit me. I don't want to see the tournament on Monday again. Like, I don't. Like, just go back to Thursday to Sunday. It just didn't feel right yesterday. I loved it. I mean, maybe it was also the fact that none of the games are good. I mean, I don't think outside that Michigan LSU game for like 30 minutes, every other game sucked. Every other game was a blowout. You know, I mean, it was like one team couldn't miss against one team that couldn't make anything. It's hard in the psyche, you know, and I didn't really feel it until this week or yesterday, but let's just go back to Thursday to Sunday. That doesn't work. That works.
I like this setup in an odd way because when we do content, you got to do shows. It's nice to have those games rolling on a Monday. But if you are normal people, and I say normal people with pride because Jeff and I sometimes it doesn't feel like we actually work. Yeah, exactly. Monday's like, oh, yes, college basketball. Well, you guys are out there grinding at a job going, why'd they put this on a Monday? I got to work all day. I can't even enjoy it. I used to enjoy it on a Sunday. So I am selfish by saying I like it on a Monday. But I have to say it's really interesting as well because this is the first year that they've done it, Jeff. And just this morning, I was like, oh, man, I wonder what next week's going to be with the show. And then I see, Jeff, we got Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, which is so odd because you get that layoff this week where we don't have March Madness here on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Like, whoa, I'm usually used to seeing the Sweet 16 matchups start Thursday, Friday, go Saturday and Sunday. You take the week off and get the Final Four. It's just odd getting used to, though. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I just would prefer that we just, you know, first of all, I'm not a big guy with change. I don't like, you know, change.
Me neither.
For your whole life, you've always had it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And, you know, now that it's, you know, this different, you know, it's this different schedule, it's messed everything up. But everything's been different. So, you know, it's not just that. But, Donnie, how did you do yesterday? I don't even remember looking.
Solid. The last 2 days have been good days.
I feel like yesterday it was the same thing as it's been. We did real well for like the first games. Then the night games were weird. But let's recap, Donnie. Let's go through these games and kind of wrap up and put a bow on the tournament, at least for the first two rounds. It's crazy, though, because next Tuesday at night, we'll know who's in the Final Four. It goes so quick once it gets here, doesn't it?
It does, because even when you watch the kids out there, like they're playing, like if I would have told you, like, because, you know, you don't like to see when your vacation ends. You don't like to see when your senior year ends, but it creeps up on you. Like these kids playing basketball all season, even when they enter March Madness, it's going to be a grind. When you really think about it, Jeff, it's basically 2.5 weeks where they win in advance or they lose and go home. It does happen relatively quickly. And before you know it, we'll be talking Final Four and the championship game on Monday night. We'll see who gets there. But when we talk about a recap, I'm sorry, Pac-12. I'm sorry that I just didn't pay attention to you this year. Saw UCLA get in the tournament like this is a joke. Like, USC is their best team out of the Pac-12, or Colorado. They can't even beat Oregon State. I mean, look at all these teams advancing and smashing their opponents.
And naturally, the one Pac-12 team I backed yesterday lost. No surprise. All right. Yes, so we start out with the Pac-12. Whoa. How about Oregon yesterday? Listen, Donnie. Is it the same old with Iowa every year? I talked about this all year when I had the podcast. It's the same team every year. They don't defend, and at the end of the day, they don't ever defend, and it's always their issue. It's always their problem. It's always the reason for their sorrows. They were dreadful defensively yesterday. They were just not as fast as Oregon was. Sad to see Luka Garza. I mean, he, all in all, you can not like Iowa, but you can't not like him. I mean, the kid's a warrior. He's a great player. But Fran McCaffery, Donnie, 25 years as a coach, he's won 6 tournament games in 25 years. If you're Iowa, Donnie, at what point do you say enough's enough? The guy doesn't win when it matters most.
Yeah, but I agree with you in that aspect. But then again, what are we looking for from Iowa? Are we looking for we're supposed to win national championships? Like, I think Iowa should be happy that they have a football team that finishes over 500 and a basketball team that competes. Because let's be real, who's going to Iowa, Jeff?
But again,
freezing cold in the winter. There's not much to do out there. They should just be happy they have a fun team to watch, to me.
But over the last 10 years, okay, it seems like they're on the precipice of doing well. They have decent teams. They've had good – like this year, would you have considered Iowa a national title contender?
Yes, okay. Because I would say the top 20 theoretically would be contenders.
Well, I feel like they're a top 25 team every year. And again, I guess there's something to show from that. And look, they just gave McCaffrey an extension, so they love him. But at what point do you say, Donnie, he's never gotten passed around at 32 in his whole career. At 4 different universities, never got passed around at 32. Not good enough.
No, I understand, but sometimes I just have to sit back and think, like, what do you really want? Like, how like St. Joe's fires Phil Martelli, like, we want to be a national champion. It's like know your role. You know what I mean?
They're never going to
know your role.
I hear you. They're never going to do it. I was just saying, from a basketball standpoint, it's always the same thing with them. But Oregon that was impressive, man. I mean, the over, what was it? It was a 102 at the half. I mean, the over hit 10 minutes in, the game was going to go over. I mean, no one could stop.
The pace was absolutely amazing. And it's almost like we overlook Oregon every year. And then you're like, man, they're so well coached. They hit the open shot. They play, they play space the floor. And it wasn't even really surprised. Like, I took, think back yesterday. We can't be look in the crystal ball of what happened. But I looked at that and said, Oregon's getting 5.5. And I'm like, on what planet? Like, is Iowa just going to shut them down and you just roll with it? And it wasn't even really in doubt, it felt like, for most of the game.
I guess you just thought maybe it was going to be, a slow start from them because they'd been off.
Yeah, because they didn't play. Correct.
Every other team that had been off for an extended period of time struggled, So, I don't know. It was a weird game, but it wasn't surprising, I think, ultimately at the end of the game because, I thought Iowa would probably control the first half, be up 6 or 7, and then – in the second half, it'd probably tighten up a little bit, and Oregon would get their legs, and it would be a close game. But Oregon from the start was just dominant. Gonzaga, look, if you had Oklahoma, rough beat for you. Not really sure why you would. I don't really why you would bet against Gonzaga without Harmon. But all in all, Donnie, they didn't play terribly. They were in the game, at least from a cover standpoint, until the final minute. But then they really brutal flagrant foul and Harkless. I don't know what he's doing there. Obviously, it's just frustration, I think. But, and then they're fouling down 15 with 40 seconds to go. What are you doing? What are you doing there?
Yeah, that was an interesting game because, and again, I was sitting on a team total over the 84.5, and he was going in for a wide open dunk, and he gets knocked to the ground. And I was like, I know where this is going. He's going to get to the line upset. He's going to miss his free throws. I'm going to lose by a half point. So what does he do? Gets to the line, bricks the first free throw. I'm like, here we go, but makes the second. And again, yes, why were they fouling after that? I have no idea. But no matter what number you got on that team total, it actually went down. I look at that game, and they blew out Oklahoma. Like, Reeves went crazy in that game, but it's clear. You need 3 or 4 guys on the offensive end that can get to the rim and do whatever you want to try to even compete with Gonzaga. Because usually in the NCAA tournament, Jeff, right? You have one guy who's hot and can't be stopped. You can carry a team. That doesn't beat Gonzaga. That doesn't. It just doesn't.
Oregon's going to beat Gonzaga.
Oh, I like it. Come on, talk to me.
They do that.
Yeah.
So, Donnie, the first 2 games we talked about here, Reeves and Garza, common theme with both, dominated the game for their team. Problem was, nobody else did anything.
Nope.
So both coaches, like Dana Altman was basically said, look, we're going to let Garza get whatever he wants. We're just not going to let anyone else score.
Correct.
And that's enough. But, yeah, if you had the team total over for Gonzaga, the first half team total, which we've Todd, on these shows, they score
Yeah.
45
46.
every
Yep,
half.
they do.
The over came in, Gonzaga came in, everything came in. So definitely good ones if you had Gonzaga in any form of fashion. Donnie, we kind of thought Abilene Christian would scratch and claw for 5 minutes and then they get blown out. And Donnie, it really seemed, I tweeted it, it seemed like UCLA screwed around and said, all right, let's quit messing around and let's blow this team out. And they blew them out. This is why you don't want upsets, because of stuff like this. You knew Abilene from 5 minutes in wasn't going to compete. They scored 47 points. I'm going to tell you right now, yesterday's game between Texas and UCLA would have been too bad.
No, it's the way it is. But Abilene, and you know what's the funny thing about that, Jeff, is I don't take a lot away from Abilene Christian. It's hard to blow out a team like that plays good defense, doesn't turn their basketball over, and is just going to extend the game. Figure when Iona went up against Alabama. It's hard to blow out Iona. Why? Because they play good defense, close out the 3-point line, and aren't very fast on offense. After that first, and it's funny because I had a team total over one of my losses yesterday, Abilene Christian 29.5. Jeff, through 5 minutes, I'm like, they might get 45 points here, Abilene Christian. And every update that came,
that was rough.
I'm refreshing, going, what is going on? Now you saw the points they ended up with, 21 points. They went scoreless for 9 minutes. If you average 1 point a minute, Jeff, that's 30 points, and they hit that. That's how bad they were in that game.
Abilene Christian was dreadful. I mean, they really awful, – I mean, it seemed like Davy Crockett was riding around the last time they had scored. I mean, it was brutal, really ugly stuff. I mean, 47 points ultimately in the game, just brutal. I want to thank everybody for joining the show today. Again, we don't have picks. We're not banging out every game because we don't really have much. I will say this. Shout out to the CBI who's got games today, just 2 of them. But either way, we're recapping. We're throwing some futures out there and a little solid announcement at the end of the show. For the next couple of days for the show, we're going to have a really cool guest. Donnie's going to be taking some time. So if you love Donnie, he won't be here for the next 3 days, sadly. But
you still better tune in, people. Come on.
Oh, yes. You better tune in. We make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're killing it with subscribers. Again, when we started this show, the goal was to grow the base of subscribers for Picks-wise and get people to know what it was and what we were doing. And we've enjoyed doing the show every day, so we thank you for checking it out. Make sure you hit the like button and make sure you support Picks-wise and you support the sponsor in FanDuel if you're in the qualifying areas. Donnie, a couple other games here. Ohio, another team that fell flat on their face. Creighton beat them up. The athleticism for Creighton was just too much. Ohio, like most teams at this level that pull off an upset, just run out of gas. And that's what Ohio did. Ohio just couldn't do much of anything against Creighton. Did you watch much of this game?
I did, and I couldn't believe, yesterday on the show we were talking about it, the number was 149. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Ohio has to be perfect in this game to try to shred that Creighton defense, and I didn't think it was going to be possible. Cruised on an easy under 149. One of those games that just stuck out right away, that line just looks massive, and though I don't care whose offense is doing what, I don't think they're going to get 150 points combined, because that game, theoretically, Jeff, 80 to 70, I just didn't see that type of pace. Creighton, again, when they fill it up on offense, they are very good, but they haven't necessarily done that over the past 3.5 weeks. But they do play very good defense, and we see it. Look, Ohio can run up and down the court against these little janky MAC teams, right? Oh, look at the pace. They're really good. Once you get a team that says, you can't get by me, that little crossover move you like to use, that doesn't work with us. And you saw it apparently yesterday in that Ohio game. Went scoreless for, big droughts of that game, under in that one. But I wasn't surprised. Creighton pedigree program, Ohio, nice run. But it's one of those things, Jeff, you just said a few moments ago. I mean, if Ohio won, that's a fun to watch. But do we want Ohio to advance? No, you want the pedigrees to advance. I want to see Creighton because at least they got some guns on their team that can come out firing in the next game and maybe pull a massive upset. I don't think so, but hey, it is what it is.
I mean, it's been an interesting season for Creighton, at least over the last month and a half or so. They seem to, again, they're a weird team because some nights they look real good and some nights they look real bad, but they've been finding ways against Santa Barbara. A nice win last night. Donnie, this game it ultimately shook out, I think, and we thought it would if you had a negative opinion on it. LSU, the real difference was defensively. I mean, they just couldn't get enough stops. I mean, and this is the issue with LSU, and this is where the rubber meets the road. Even without Livers, Michigan regained control for most of the second half and were in control. LSU just couldn't get enough stops. I mean, you can't give up 43 points in each half and expect to win games. You're not going to outscore Michigan 90-80. You're just not going to do it. They're just going to turn it up a little bit defensively and get the job done. Outside of Smart and Cam Thomas, no one really contributed for LSU ultimately. And, Michigan, as you said, you need 3 or 4 guys to score. And Michigan had – Eli Brooks dropped 21. Wagner had 15. Dickinson only had 12, and they still scored 86. That's huge. You're waiting. I think Michigan fans are waiting for Shawnee Brown, the kid from Wake Forest, to figure it out. And boy, did he ever figure it out last night. 21 points off the bench. Shawnee Brown, this is what you had to have out of him without Livers. We hadn't really seen it this year for the kid, but not only is he a great defender, but he was a terrific three-point shooter last night. 3 for 6 from the three-point line. Big night for Shawnee Brown. Big night for Michigan. They cover. And by game time, Donnie, I'd kind of gotten a little irritated with my plan LSU because this had to have been the most lopsided bet of the day. I mean, there was no one on Michigan. No one. Everyone thought LSU could pull the upset.
Yeah, it was a very good first 15 minutes for LSU, taking almost a double-digit lead in the first half. You're like, boy, they're here to play, making big shots.
Yeah.
And if you would have told me that LSU would be down 1 point at the half to Michigan, I would have said, sign me up. I love that they're in this basketball game. But if you watch the way it played out, you had that ominous feeling like LSU should have been up at the half. Now they're down 1. But even in the second half, like LSU fought. And they had a 6 to 7 point lead, and then back-to-back three-pointers by Michigan got them in. I have to say this one thing because – watching the game in the second half, Michigan was the better team. So I would never say a call could change a game or this and that. But the single fact is, and I don't know how you change this, and I've talked about this before, the charge call in NCAA, and I equate it to a police report. Like, police don't want to pull people over because sometimes we're lazy like everybody else. If I pull this guy over, he's got a tail light out. I got to fill out 5 pages. I don't even want to do it. Let me just say I didn't even see the guy and just let him go. Well, in college basketball, if a ref calls a charge call, I want a 7-page essay on the reasoning behind why you called that charge call, and it's due 30 minutes after the game. Let's see if they make those calls. Case in point, down the stretch, 6-point game, LSU drives to the hoop, clear N1. Like, I had the sound off, so I couldn't hear, but awesome play. And I see Michigan with the ball dribbling up court, and I said, wait a second here. The kid has his hands up, shuffling all over the court sideways, and a clear layup N1. They caught it the other way. You want to talk about a game that would have been a 3-point game, change into a 6-point game, which Michigan scored to make it an 8-point game. What are we doing in college basketball with the charge call? There was an absurdity of those. What?
It's tough.
Again, Jeff, if everybody is on the same page, like the charge call is wrong in college, why is it only the refs that keep on saying
No, listen, it's an issue. It's been an issue all year. It's been an issue with ruining these games. These referees think everyone's there to watch them, and they have this complex that they're going to make these calls, and hey, it sucks. It's really brutal. There's been again, Texas Abilene Christian was decided because of a bad foul call. I mean, whether it's a charge or a foul, whatever, I agree. It's an issue. It's been an issue in sports for years, refereeing. It's the one sole issue that a lot of these leagues have. I couldn't agree with you more. They need to put the hammer down. Listen, you know what the NCAA has to do, Donnie? And I mean this. They need a complete overhaul. I mean, there's a lot of things about the NCAA that's a complete mess. From refereeing to, look, whether you agree with paying players or not, there needs to be some things that are fixed. Okay, there just does. We can say all we want about, they don't have to go, but there are things that need to be fixed. There need to be things fixed where they say they're going to do things and then don't do them. Like, the NCAA has a lot of issues, and they need to fix a lot of them. They're going to have major issues going forward. But, yeah, you're right. That was a big issue in the game and ultimately was the difference. But, Donnie, they reminded me, LSU, of like a guy or a woman that, is on a diet. She loses 10 pounds, and she's happy. And, she starts to let her guard down. Starts eating a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's back. And that was LSU. Like, they're so bad defensively that they'd go up 6, and then before you know it, they're down 1, like within a minute. It's just that's just how they are.
Yeah, that's exactly why they were 100-1 to start the tournament, and still 65-1. And it was a tall task for them to advance. But you saw the flashes. If they could put it together, they can hang. But Michigan was just headstrong, man.
I will say though, we both had LSU. it's one of the futures that I was pretty high on. I'll take it again. It was. I think it's always easy to just knock on people for. That's one thing I don't understand about people though with futures. You have 4 or 5 of them, Donnie, and there's always that team can't make the Final Four, and it's like, well, yeah, but again, I'm not going to bet a team at 10-1. I'm looking for teams that I think have the path and have the ability, and I thought Michigan was a little vulnerable, but you're looking back, they played really well, and the coaching edge was the difference. A couple more. Colorado, not really sure what that performance was. They weren't as big. McKinley Wright picked a bad time to have his worst game of the season. I think at one point, Donnie, he had more turnovers than points. He had 6 turnovers on 5 points. Just not going to get it done. Florida State is every year a tough out, man. They're tough to beat. They're tough to, they just always seem imposing, and you're going to have to play. It's almost like you get to play a perfect game to beat them. Could they pull the upset against Gonzaga, Donnie?
They have the length. They're one of the few teams that come in every year where they have endless 7-footers, guys with wingspans like Dikembe Mutombo at guard. They're an amazing team to watch because they're also very LSU-like because if they put it together, the talent is there to go on a run. It's just that we see 3 losses to Georgia Tech this year. Like, well, how the heck did you lose to Georgia Tech 3 times? It happens, and that's why they're not a number 1 or number 2 overall seed or didn't win the ACC championship in the tournament at the end of the year. But I agree with you there. And yesterday, another one that hit fairly easily, the under 140.5. When I see FSU out there, I don't think overs. I think, boy, is it hard to score at the rim. And if you can't shoot the 3-pointer and not going down, how do you score against FSU? So that was another easy under hitting, but your point is correct here. When FSU with that talent can put it together, love Leonard Hamilton, brings in these same athletes every year. We just are waiting for that dynamic run because if you have 10 guys on your team that can legitimately steal very good minutes, you have something pretty special, and especially when you have endless every year 7-footers that just protect the rim.
They also pull the wool over your eyes because they don't have a point guard. It's crazy how they continue to just be fine with it. It's weird. Couple more. Alabama. I mean, what a second half this was for Alabama. I mean, I think, Donnie, you kind of realized they were just going to blow Maryland out at one point. It wasn't the same team. They scored 50 points in the second half. I think they scored 16 points in the first 4 minutes of the second half. They were just rolling. High scoring game. Team total went way over. Nice call. Alabama, easy winner there. 72. What a joke of a team total that was. 72.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, one of my favorite matchups of the tournament because we do know Michigan slows it down, plays really good defense, but where's the fault lie? Alabama says, please let me shoot Jeff as many threes as I can. And you know what Maryland says? You could shoot as many as you want. We don't care about the 3-point line. Just destiny. Because the way we looked at it with the Iona game, Jeff, where Iona closes out on the 3-point shot. It's one thing they do really well, and it affected Alabama, specifically in the first half of that game, a slow start. Maryland just let them do whatever they wanted. They were hot from the 3-point line to start, carried all the way through. And you're right. You see the 72 with Alabama, and it's almost like I don't care who they're playing. If they go average from 3-point range, they're getting the 72. And boy, did they turn on the afterburners. That's my team that we said before the tournament. Forget about futures play or anything. I root for that team. They are so much fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I'm liking them as well. I think they're down at that bottom in the corner. They're just kind of doing their thing, winning games. And then USC, not really much to say here. I mean, this game was, I think, 11-2. It was never close. Never. 11-2 is 50. I think Kansas had 7 points in 10 minutes at the first start of the game. It was never close. This game was never close. I would have to imagine this is the worst loss in Kansas history, particularly in a postseason game. This was ugly stuff. Kansas was not prepared to play. You're starting to see maybe Bill Self's losing a step a little bit. This was ugly stuff. Jalen Wilson wasn't a factor. David McCormick looked lost against better bigs. They were balanced. They were good. USC is legit. This is the best the USC team in a long time. Ugly game. They lose by 34 to the Jayhawks. Ugly.
Awful. I am awful in the last, and I'm glad because I go to bed before these games technically start or even like it.
You don't even wake up anymore.
Exactly. I wake up and I'm just like, it didn't surprise me. Like I had a very good day yesterday, but that would have been like the icing on the cake. So I went to bed and I saw it was like, within a couple points. I'm like, we'll see what happens. And I wasn't even shocked when I saw 81, 85, 51. I'm like, yeah, Kansas just didn't even play. And that's the Pac-12 going in, which brings us up here because next week You're seeing that USC Oregon game. That's a really good one. And hey, here comes the Pac-12 seeded 6 and 7, trying to make a run into somebody's going to get to the Elite 8. So the question is, I guess we're already bypassing Creighton getting beat by Gonzaga. Somebody's got to knock Gonzaga off. Can one of these Pac-12 teams, Jeff, because USC has the size to match up. Oregon's fluidity on offense. They have the ability to make it a really interesting game. Can one of them take down Gonzaga, or at least give them a game, 10 points?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always assume they can. They're going to give them a game. They talked about that last night. That one of the people I do like on ESPN is Sean Farnham. He always has pretty good stuff, and he was talking about how you need kind of multiple guards that can just attack. And I think Oregon has an interesting blueprint, right? They're kind of big, they're healthy. Duarte's a star. Will Richardson's playing really well. But yeah, I think all those teams can, whether it's USC or Gonzaga or Oregon, because USC obviously has the bigs and their guard play is underrated. And that's actually something I wanted to bring up. Adrian brings up what do you think about Oregon at 45-1? I'm taking a shot with that. That's a big price. If you can get through Gonzaga, I mean, there's only a few games left. It could be used for paper. But that's the good thing about futures, Donnie. You're always – my goal with a future is always, can I, do I see it happening? And B, can I get rid of it? And is it a good price? And, 45-1 is a good price. In the Sweet 16, because at the Final Four, you can get rid of the ticket. So, yes, I like that one. Couple of other comments, Donnie. But before we do that, why don't you tell us about the Capper contest?
I'm getting a kick out of this Capper contest because if you know the big man on campus, we have him rated as the favorite here. And if you go look at the standings, the one thing that does make me laugh a little bit here is Jeff is 5 picks behind everybody else. Why, Jeff? Because Jeff didn't read the directions. Well, but I don't think that's actually the case. I think something sinister is going on behind the scenes where Jeff's like, I'm so good. I don't need the free games here. I'm going to win this thing anyway. Is that what's happening?
Listen, there's still plenty of time. Yeah, look, I mean, it is what it is, man. I think who's leading the competition?
I see the statistics here because I'm going to log back onto the Pickswise website, but it doesn't really show like who is in the lead. Like I know they tweet out daily, like with the points. I can't find the point structure here, but I can find like what your record is on this.
Big weekend next week. You got multiple days of games. That's going to decide the competition next week.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But I'm not making excuses. I've done pretty well.
That makes me laugh when I see that. Like, everybody's got 15 picks and Jeff is out here with 10 picks.
Yeah. They could have been losers too, though.
No, but it doesn't matter though. It's only points. You don't get minus points.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you'd have went 2 and 3, you'd have another 2 points at least on top of that, just for the average, law of average. But if you went 5-0 or 4-1, that's Donnie, an extra 4 points.
Here's the goal: as long as I don't finish last.
No, we're not changing the goal here. You were supposed to finish first place in this.
You gave
everybody a 5-pick head start through the first 2 days, and somebody came in this chat box and said, "Jeff, what are you doing? You have to make all 5."
Did you hear that fat slob this morning? He was making excuses.
Now he says he doesn't want to win it. He just doesn't want to finish last. Yeah, I'm giving this a thumbs down and unsubscribe.
He's trying to that good guy routine, but he just wants the mailman to win. That's all shtick. He just is making it. But no, check out the Capper contest. Fun stuff.
10 G's.
Yes, 10 G's to the winner. And I do hope the mailman wins. If anyone's going to, just as long as it's him, I don't want any of those other people to win. But yeah, okay, Donnie, let's get into. I want to just tell everyone what the rest of the week's gonna look like.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have people in here tomorrow. Ski Profit's gonna join me for the next couple of days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're gonna talk NBA on the show each day. We got big NBA cards. This is the hoops betting hour, as they say, and we're gonna incorporate NBA in. We're gonna bring on one of my favorite people, a guy that I've worked with in the past. Donnie, we've actually met Ski Profit. He's a great guy. Met him out in Vegas. A good dude. Loves his basketball and loves his NBA. So we're going to talk with Ski Profit for the next couple of days. And I want to give Ski some love, man, because when we were talking about doing this, my first thought with Ski, Donnie, was I know Ski's on the West Coast at 6 a.m. Can we get him to come on? I called Ski. I said, yo, Ski. I said, I need you to come on. I said, 6 a.m. I know it's early. He said, don't even worry about it. He said, I got you. So Ski's going to come on bright and early. Daddy, there are a few guys in this business that would do that. I'm being honest. A lot of people would just say it's too early. I don't want to wake up. Ski is a worker, man. He loves doing shows. He loves doing stuff. And I'm excited to talk basketball. We've worked in the past together in the NBA, and it'll be good to get back to the association, which I've been following as well. So Ski will join me tomorrow for the first couple of days here. We'll get back to the Sweet 16 on Friday, Saturday, and then for the rest of the weekend, Donnie will be back. So, Donnie, nice to have Ski, NBA guy, on the show.
No, and here's the reasoning behind this whole thing. Well, Donnie, why aren't you doing an NBA show? Why aren't you and Jeff going to continue to do it? Why is Ski coming in? Here's why we don't cheat you guys out here.
Yeah.
Jeff follows the NBA very well. I don't follow the NBA at all. So why would PicksWise as a network, and if they very accommodating behind the scenes, understanding we want to give you the best absolute product we can get. Why would you want me hosting an hour show about 11 games on the NBA when I probably couldn't tell you more than one starter on each team? That's not fair to you, the listeners that give us the time to subscribe, the thumbs up, great content. You can see the passion me and Jeff have together here talking NCAA basketball. You want that same passion when the guys talk NBA action. Ski's going to be able to provide that. That show is going to be fantastic stuff. But it's not because, Donnie's tired and need days off. No. If I'm not passionate about something, we will never sell you guys short and give you a product that underperforms. Ski's going to jump right in here, give it a blast off. Saturday, I'll be back with the big men on campus. We'll be rocking and rolling into the Sweet 16. That's the reasoning for it. Not just because, hey, let's switch it up and try something new. No, we're trying to give you the best absolute product. And Jeff behind the scenes worked a couple things. It's going to be a great NBA show. You guys definitely need to tune into it.
Right. And, another thing, what it can also do is, it's kind of setting up a vision to once basketball ends, college basketball, we got the NBA until July.
Yes,
maybe that means
correct.
some NBA content. So, Ski's great. I love talking basketball with him. He loves the NBA. So it's a great kind of a vision. So, yeah, make sure you join in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Same show, same place. It's just going to be Donnie out for a couple of days. And as Donnie said, you don't want to just – I think that's some things that people – like they put people on that are not real comfortable talking about something. Listen, if PicksWise came to me and said, hey, we need you on a hockey show, I would say I'm out. I don't know nothing about hockey. Another thing, like I've been asked to do horse racing things. Like I enjoy it. It's fun. But I couldn't tell you stuff about, like, I'm not telling you who the dam of a horse is or the size, I just have fun with, like, there's certain things I'm not going to want to come on and talk in depth about. It's fun. I bet this and there, but yeah, I don't want to come on and talk about hockey or water polo. I don't know anything about those sports. So it's good that Donnie can put his ego aside, as they say.
Yes, I need to be on this NBA show, highlighting it. The show must go on. That's not the way we think in this business. And once you realize what you're passionate about, that's why you do content. That's why you're involved in it. And it worked out perfectly that somebody who knows about the NBA and is passionate like Ski is going to step in with Jeff and carry it through. And again, hey, I'll be back Saturday, and we have a lot more shows to do in the tournament here. So looking forward to it. Recharge, energize. I'm an old man. Sometimes I need to sleep in past 7:30 in the morning, Jeff. So
yeah, well, you go to bed at like 10 p.m.
Look, but that doesn't. I'm old though, so you got to think back. Like I'm not in my younger years here.
Akbar says Jeff is knowledgeable in soccer too. I believe I am. That's correct. Italian League. We should have a show. Italian League Soccer 101. All right, Donnie, let's really quickly talk about just where we are with the futures market. Oh, by the way, shout out to me. Did anyone bet Bellarmine last night? Another winner for Bellarmine. Bellarmine.
Big game for them last night, Jeff. Don't they come back today? Are we going back-to-back days here in this tournament?
And it's actually a good game. Bellarmine and Pepperdine. That should be a fun one.
Waves.
Out in Delray, or where is it? Daytona Beach.
Spring breaking out there? Okay.
By the way, with Florida, Donnie, do you see some of the scenes down there in Miami, man? Just like people don't give a hell anymore about anything. They're just doing things.
They gave the country their 15 days last year, Jeff. And
People are out. They're just doing their things. And not
it used to be like we would go out and be like, hey, I'm going to go around crowd. Let me at least put the mask around my chin or my neck so it's on me. It ain't even happening anymore, Jeff. That mask ain't even showing up anymore. It's time to party.
I saw cats dancing on cars and stuff, and I seen the one car sitting there, and I'm like, come on, man, you got to get that car out of there. I always wondered about people like that. Like during like parades and stuff, you're the one car still sitting.
Yeah, why are you doing that? Because I've been to South Beach before the same way. Now, usually, like they're cruising up and down on the South Beach on a Friday, Saturday night. I get it, but where the crowds are, like on South Street in Philadelphia, I'm not driving my car down South Street on a busy weekend. I'm going to park it somewhere else. I'm going to walk down South Street. I don't need to be in the crowd. You are just asking for nonsense.
I'll be honest, Donnie. This is a thing that I used to do when I lived in Philadelphia. When I years ago, I used to park my car in a parking garage. Like if I knew I wasn't going to drive for a couple of days, I didn't want my car sitting on the street. You got people walking around, they're just hitting stuff. Who knows? They're scratching it. Like I don't want my car anywhere near the street, just because.
Yeah, if you've never lived in the city before, or haven't anybody seen it done it? First of all, you got to parallel park, which most people don't like to do. But secondarily, you don't get upset when your bumpers are dinged up, because they will rock your car getting in and rock it getting out, and it's just the way it is in the city, Jeff.
And another thing, like this because your wife is from Philadelphia. Like when I lived there, I lived on a street called Watts. It's a little, about as you're so small you could barely drive your car down it.
Yes.
And not only is the street small and narrow, but you have cars parked, right? So when you parallel park, you have to go up over the curve and get in there. It's a super tough thing to do. Like, and I'm not even kidding. Like the streets are narrow as hell. So it's like you got.
They weren't built for this. They weren't built. In 1776, Jeff, they weren't parallel parking cars. So now we are.
That's how dense Philadelphia is with the streets. They're so narrow.
And again, just a little bit of knowledge as well. Jeff talks about it, and he lives right off Broad Street. Don't be surprised when you drive down Broad. It's like, there's cars double parked in the middle of the street. They can't go anywhere else.
No, I used to love that. I parked my car in the median in the street.
In Broad Street. Yeah. The busiest street in Philadelphia.
Broad and Argon, I used to park Argon Avenue even. I used to park. And that's a whole – because there's not enough parking spots for cars down there. You got to park double, triple. And the rule for double parking is as long as someone can back out, it's not double parking.
Correct.
So, you're parking in the middle of the street and everything.
The middle of a busy street. Imagine you driving home from work on whatever thoroughfare you use and pulling into the middle of the street, the double-lined yellow, and just turning your car off, getting out, walking across the street into your apartment.
As long as you're not preventing traffic or guys from getting through to, go to the next street, you're good.
Yep.
No one's going to ever ticket you. Okay, let's get into some of the futures markets here. College hoops. Donnie, what you have Houston still, right?
I have two futures left. Pour some out to LSU. My 100-1 ticket went down, and what a bad pick or whatever it was. Look, 100-1. Did we think 100-1 was going to what's like Leicester City is every year going to happen all over the place? No. So they went down. All I asked them for was to give me an honest effort. They did. I still have Baylor in the tournament at 6-1, Jeff, and I also still have that Houston ticket, which is now 9-1, which was 21-1. Which yesterday we had a little party yesterday. We got some Houston fans, Jeff, that climbed on board. Me, you, Jason Radowitz out here having some good times with them. They're a good basketball team. Yeah. We'll see how it goes, but that's where I'm sitting. Your futures market, I know you got, Chicago's 13-1 now. People are sitting on massive tickets from dating back to, January and early February. But even in the tournament, Jeff, you were as high as 70-1, 75-1. You're now down to 13-1 with Loyola here. But Gonzaga, still that 160 number sticks out because they look good.
Well, yeah, they do. And I think the question I keep getting is, are you going to sell the No, I'm not.
Ride it.
No, I mean, look, I like the matchups, honestly. I think they will beat Oregon State. And whether it's Syracuse or Houston, I have a Houston ticket as well, 21-1. So with Donnie, so I'm kind of okay. I want Houston to obviously win. I think Loyola can beat Houston. I'm not overly worried about that matchup. I think it's a tough matchup. It's going to be a low-scoring, grind-out rock fight. But if they can get there, I almost like my chances there. If I get to the Final Four, Donnie, I might look at doing something with it. But ultimately, it's not that much money that I put out. It is the biggest future I've ever had that's live. So I'm not going to sell as far as I know.
No, Loyola's legitimate too, Jeff. When you talk about if you get to the Final Four, I would even hold off. I wouldn't do anything until I matched up against Gonzaga, because then you're like, all right, you know what? Because legitimately right now, when you look at the bracket, they knocked off Illinois. They're favored the next game by 5 to 6 points. Yeah. So it's not as if you're like, ooh, now they got to beat another 2 seed and they're getting 10 points. No, that's not the case anymore.
Yeah. And look, honestly, the perfect situation, 3 futures I have Houston, Loyola, and I have Alabama, which I bet on Saturday or Sunday, 16-1. So the perfect situation, Donnie, is Alabama, Loyola. As I've said, if I can get that to happen, that's big.
Yeah,
now,
it's funny.
conceivable.
You root for Gonzaga and you want Gonzaga to win, but when money's on the line, you're like, come on, Creighton. Come
I
on,
love
USC.
Gonzaga. Mark Hughes, the best coach in the history of this sport. But, if Gonzaga Baylor, that sucks for me, But I might, Donnie, I think I'm going to get on Oregon. I think 45-1 is a very, I'm getting on that. I'm just going to say,
there's some great matchups, man. Like next weekend when we talk about, we're not really going to talk lines. Gonzaga Creighton, not really all that excited for it, but you know what? I'm more excited for that game than if Ohio would have knocked out Creighton in that game. USC is very intriguing. Oregon is very intriguing. So when we looked at this, lineup coming into the tournament, I think we all agreed Gonzaga had the easiest run. But now, look, hey, Creighton might give them Creighton's not a slouch. They might give them a game. I don't think Creighton can beat them. But it's real intriguing now. We're early in the tournament, Jeff. We're looking at USC and Oregon like, I don't even know if they get there. Can they even beat VCU? Is Iowa going to not play any defense against Gonzaga but just get hot? That's an intriguing matchup because those two teams can give Gonzaga some issues regardless of what team wins.
Exactly. They surely can. And, USC is going to play Oregon. They're obviously Pac-12 stablemates. USC blew them out when they played them in the season. The game was never close. It was a lot like the Kansas game last night. USC, Donnie, in the first 10 minutes of the game, in that game against Oregon, jumped up to a 19-5 lead. They didn't even have Isaiah Mobley. We're up by 24 at one point, 26. Ended up winning by 14. And Oregon was fully healthy. And they didn't even shoot the ball that poorly. It was just a rough game. They couldn't miss USC. They had shot 48% for three. So that's going to be a nice revenge opportunity for Oregon because, Donnie, no one cares about the regular season. It's, okay, the big dance is here.
What have you done for me lately?
Yes, exactly. So, when we're looking at the markets here, I want to kind of just go over here. The deepest tournament team in the field that's got odds is Oral Roberts, Donnie, 100-1.
Yeah.
They got Arkansas next. Game suits them. They want to run. Arkansas wants to run. We've seen Arkansas, have issues against teams that can match what they can do. I think this is probably where Oral Roberts bow out. It's a big number, which we'll get to down the road. But do you take $20, Donnie, and throw it on Oral Roberts? Do you have any interest there?
The tough part about this one, Jeff, for me is I think if you're Oral Roberts, you're upset about this week break, not because Oral Roberts is playing well, but now you have, Arkansas saying, I'm going to know exactly what you want to do by the time we play next weekend. You're not going to sneak up on us. You're not going to be like, hey, we didn't even think Oral Roberts would be here. We were getting ready for Florida. That's not really the case. We have a 36, 48-hour turnaround this one. I think that hurts these, slipper teams, as we like to call them, moving forward because now you have the attention of the big dogs. And now it's really going to be a climb up saying, can we really get ahead? Which, again, is like Loyola, not really an underdog to me anymore in this tournament because obviously they're favored. But it's not like they're going up against a high-powered opponent, Oregon State coming into it or, whoever they're going to meet up with even after that. It's a little bit different read. I think Arkansas's athletes are saying, hey, all these three-point shots you wanted to get, we're going to close out on these. I'm not sure you can get them. Tough looks here for the underdogs.
But again, when I look at Oral Roberts, they're not Colgate. They're not, athletically not they have plenty of kids that can run. I don't know what these odds makers are seeing that we're seeing with Oral. They keep giving them 11, 10, 9 points in each game. I don't really get these prices. They throw out 16 with Ohio State, which is dumb. At 9 with Florida, dumb. Now you throw out 11.5 against Arkansas. I guess you're just, like you said, gonna jump on them from the beginning. I mean, it's not like Arkansas is a particularly strong three-point defense. I don't know. The pace is going to be there. It'll be a high-scoring game. Yeah. Is this just 85-70? I don't think. But
yeah, and also when you take a look at that double-digit number, we say it time and time again, the ultimate equalizer is a team that can shoot volume from three.
Yeah.
That's what Oral Roberts does. So, I mean, even if they're not on point from three-point range, you're still talking about, forget about money line, winning the game and moving on. You're getting 5+ possessions where the reason even in the first game we were looking at Oral Roberts versus Ohio State was, wait a second, if they're down 20, Jeff, in the last 5 minutes, that's 3 for 4 from three down the stretch, and you got to cover in that game. They can do that.
Yeah, I'll be honest, man. I played the 11.5 already. Yeah. If they lose by 15, so be it. But
so be it.
they fit the court. They fit the big man on campus dog scale, where like if you make threes, you make free throws, you don't turn. Like they do all that stuff. Yeah. And O'Banner, and the problem that they have, Donnie, and I think you're dead right. And this is what you have to remember about the Elite Eight games, Sweet 16 games. You have a long time off, tons of prep time. And, I think when you can kind of almost, surprise a team a little bit, like a Florida and come all the way back. But Arkansas is going to have plenty of time to prepare, which sucked. But I still think it's a lot of points. But either way, that's the deepest future. Syracuse just sits there 50-1. I think they're interesting as well because, I like Houston a lot, but I don't put them on the level of at least for me, I don't put them on Alabama. They're not that,
the 2 seed. Yeah.
They don't have that I guess they weirdly do though because they've blown out a lot of teams this year. But I feel like they're vulnerable after that Houston or that Rutgers performance. Do you believe in Buddy? Can he really get them to the Final Four? Because that's a really sellable ticket. Even if you can just beat Houston, you're going to have a pretty decent match against Loyola. That future is going to get cut in half.
Yeah, and I'm again, this is another one where you're sitting out a week ahead of time and you're looking at Houston, Jeff, saying this is how you want to get Syracuse because you know why? Their head coach, Sampson, can just say, we got the matchup zone all week long. We're going to try to dissect this thing, which San Diego State did not do, but maybe Houston can hit some of those shots. But we are talking about futures odds here and where you can get down on some of these odds and make that big ticket money or Roberts 100-1. You get it right at FanDuel Sports here. And if you log on to FanDuel, if you haven't done so yet, you haven't deposited money, you are a first-time user in an eligible state, $1,000 free wager. So theoretically, Jeff, I don't know if they would let you get down, but how about $1,000 wager on Oral Roberts at 100-1? And if you lose it, you know what? It ain't such a bad bet, Jeff. You get the $1,000 back, and you can make your charge for the rest of March Madness. Keep in mind, I believe it's only good for the rest of the month here, so you still have a week to go. You can place it on anything you want. Get in here and use that.
I mean, not for nothing. If I had that, what you just talked about, that free wager,
1,000, yeah,
I would just bet Gonzaga and just.
Put a G on it.
Yeah, double it up.
And what happens? It goes down. You dummy! No, not really a dummy. They gave me my money back. Thanks.
Yeah, and I had Gonzaga, who's one of the best offensive teams in the history of the sport. So, yeah, I mean, look at big man giving out plus 160s. Yikes!
Big man, why don't you just roll over that number throughout the tournament as you keep going?
Yeah, everybody's always smarter than you on Twitter.
Yeah.
There's always someone that has a better, like yesterday, Donnie. This is Twitter for college basketball. I'm gonna give it to you, and really in general. So I tweet out about Garza and how great of a player he was, and just he's a legend. You got to give him respect. Yeah. You don't ever like to see a kid in his last game. Some guy comments and goes, "Yeah, but let's just be honest. Like he's a terrible defender, and I'm ultimately not going to give him respect because of that." It's like, shut up, dude. Like. He's a legend. Just let him be his legend, But okay,
well, how about one more thing to get on the odds thing because we talk about you can always hedge. Look, there's a reason why people take these long shots because they want a big payout. But my favorite of all time is let's just say you took Oral Roberts, Jeff. They made some wild run to the final. Hey, why don't you hedge and just put $50,000 on the opposite side? There's a reason the guy only had $1,000 in his pocket, which was a free bet that would be refunded back. I'm pretty sure, Jeff, he doesn't have $50,000 where he can fly to a casino or do whatever and put additional money on that game. Those are my favorite ones. He should have just hedged $50,000.
It's like what I put the Loyola ticket on. You can tell that's a fake ticket. Let's see the dollar amount. It's like, Donnie, you're involved on that. It's not fake. You know that.
Yeah. We could go live right now, and I will show you exactly the date and time that the big man said, "Hey, at 301, I need a piece of that. What can you get?" And you know what the upsetting part about it is?
You can only put a certain, I think on it.
We actually wanted, or I should say, Jeff wanted more on that, and they said, "No, bro, you're not getting that much on this ticket here."
I'm pretty sure, Donnie.
Settle this.
I'm pretty sure you told me you could only bet a certain this.
And we laughed at it. We have it on Skype. It is time stamped in there where we laughed. And I said, Jeff, you can only get this amount on it.
It truly sickens me. I'm serious. Because I was going to legitimately on 301, I was poised to put $100. That
Yes.
is a $30,000 ticket.
Yeah.
And
they couldn't do it. They didn't let it. Let it happen.
Really brutal. All right, Donnie. Really quick. I just want to quickly throw out, because I know people will reach out to me about it, so I'm going to bring it up. We got 3 or 4 minutes. Just run into these. Pepperdine Bellarmine. Okay. Bellarmine offensively is really fun to watch. If you backed them this year, they have one of the coolest, most, just really aesthetically pleasing offenses to watch in the country. Ball movement's great. They take a lot of really good shots. They're really efficient, and they don't turn it over. They're just going to score, and that was evident last night. Scored 47 points, I believe, or 37 points in the second half. They were very good. Only at 30 at the half. Yeah, scored 47 in the second half. Just a really fun offense to watch. They're not going to do much of anything defensively. They pack everything in. They're going to let you shoot the 3 ball. But this is a Pepperdine offense that has plenty of kids that can score, whether it's Kobe Ross or Kessler Edwards or Cedric Altman. Pace-wise, this should be a fun game. I don't think either team can stop each other. This should be a fun game. I think 150 is a little low. We've seen teams let their hair down in this tournament. You saw yesterday in that Bryant game, I think it was 92-83. Teams are willing to kind of run and play at the pace that they want. I think this will be a pretty fun game to watch. The other game, Stetson and Coastal Carolina. Donnie, yesterday in that Stetson Bowling Green game, I think Bowling Green had 3 starters out. Stetson had a couple guys out as well. A 53-52 slog fest. That's exactly how Stetson wants to play. They do not want the game out of the 50s. Coastal Carolina is an interesting team because they're going to zone the heck out of you and say, you know what? You're not getting in our lane. We're not going to let Diarra beat us. Stetson, you're going to have to make some threes. But Stetson is a pretty good offensive team from the 3-point line, and they do a nice job defensively. I would expect probably another grinder game here. Either way, you got some basketball on for your,
enjoyment.
Enjoyment. Yeah, starts at 5:30 Eastern time. I am the big man on campus. He is Donnie Rightside. We will be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. Ski Profit will join us. I think we have 11 NBA games we'll go over. This is the Hoops Betting Hour, as they say, and we'll get into some more hoops. We'll also, Donnie, towards the end of the week, start looking ahead to Sweet 16 action, Elite 8 action. It's going to be a fun weekend. I know that for betting and for basketball. So all of you have a great day. Thank you for joining us. As always, make sure you're checking out PicksWise. A lot of great articles, a lot of great content at PicksWise. And make sure you're frequenting FanDuel if you're in a qualifying area. Obviously, get that risk-free bet by joining right now. I'm the big man. He's Donnie. This has been the Hoops Betting Hour presented by PicksWise and powered by FanDuel. We'll see you Tuesday here on the show.